Hello, everybody, and welcome. My name is Mike McDonald. I'm the president of Kidventure Camps, and I'm super excited to be with everyone today. This is, of course, our next in a series of live streams, webinars, and this one specifically talks about our overnight camp program, which will be our 31st year of overnight camp. Believe it or not, in 1994, we loaded up, I think, 15 kids in a white van and took off for overnight camp. This was 31 years ago. And look where we are now, so many years later. Our intent has always been the same, to provide kids an opportunity, just to get out into nature, to be with an incredible staff of summer camp counselors, and to discover themselves through challenging themselves socially, physically, mentally, to making new friends, to getting off their screen for an extended period of time and realizing the world is so much bigger than what they thought there was on their iPhone. But I don't want to just talk about all this stuff today. I'm super excited to welcome with us today Nicole Davis from Austin. Hey, Nicole, how are you?
Good, Mike. Thanks for having me. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us. That was an amazing intro to overnight camp. I can't wait to talk to you more about it this afternoon.
Uh, Thank you so much for being here. Having your expertise on board with us today, giving your insight on overnight camp and all the other things that you're so talented at doing, I think is going to be super helpful for the presentation, but more important for anybody viewing. Okay, and let's talk about that viewing. Right now, currently, you can view this on our YouTube channel. We also have a page set up on the website, which is, if you go to the top navigation under parent resources, it will say webinars. And so we're live on that page as well as our Facebook page. Instagram, I think maybe we're having trouble with Instagram, but I'm not totally sure on that one. But hope you're tuning in. This is recorded, so if you're not here, then you're not hearing me say this. But it will be recorded, and we'll put it on the webpage, and we'll leave it on Facebook too as well for everybody to view, because I know it's important for a lot of people. All right. Like I said before, Nicole, this is all about overnight camp. We're not going to talk about day camp today. We do have an agenda. I think I can pull that agenda up if I think we have it. I do have an agenda, but first, I think what I want to do is I want to let a video play to give people like a visual. So before we start talking about overnight camp and all the cool things we do, like zip lining and caving and rock climbing and all that great stuff, I'm going to switch on the video. So turn up your volume if you got volume on there, parents, and then so you can watch a video with us. Then we'll come back. We'll talk about specifically what we are going to do. All right, here we go, you guys. All right, I'm pretty pumped. How about you?
So pumped. This year, I think, is gonna. I know we say this every year, but it gets better and better. We're being
Oh
truthful,
my
and I
gosh.
think this one's gonna be the best one yet.
Every time I watch that video, I'm like, oh my gosh, can we just get to camp already? It is such a blast. I love it. All right, let's talk about what we're going to talk about here today. We're going to cover all three of our age group camps today. Safari, which is our 8 through 12-year-olds. And when I mean 8, I mean you just need to be turning 8 by the end of the summer. Okay, I get that question a lot. Okay, so if you got a 7-year-old, they're turning 8, they're good to go. We're going to talk about Quest. It's also 8 to 12 years old. The big difference there between Safari and Quest is the duration and a little bit of the activities too as well. Safari is a 6-day program. Quest is a 9-day program. And then finally, the coolest camp in the world, because why? They're the coolest kids in the world, middle school kids, 13 through 16-year-olds, right? They have a separate camp. It has a much different focus than the other camps. We're going to go through each. We're going to describe each. We're going to talk about those in a little bit of detail. And so whichever age child you have potentially, we'll talk about that program for them. Keep in mind, we're going to have a Q&A at the very end of this. So if you have questions, put those in the comment section. When we get to the Q&A portion of that, we'll ask those questions, throw those up there and answer those for you guys. All right, so let's see here. Agenda. This is what I want to pull up here. There we go. Let's talk about this. So, a little brief history of overnight. We kind of talked about that, showed you that. Our philosophy and goals, which I think is super important. We'll talk about those 3 camp programs that we just went over, Safari Quest and Echo. We'll talk about the camp team, which is super important, right? A little bit about preparing for camp and then registration. And then we'll do that Q&A at the end of that as well, okay? So, here we go. Nicole, go ahead. I'm going to let you take over on this. Let's give us the basics.
All right, so here is Safari and Quest, our 8 to 12-year-old programs. Here are the dates. We first go to Safari. We kick off the summer. It's going to be a Sunday through a Friday. So June 30th is going to be our drop-off day all the way through July 5th, which is a Friday for pickup. We go to Rock Springs, Texas. It is such a beautiful location. We have those 4 days of just jam-packed activities for your campers. So that's kind of just a brief overview of Safari. Quest, the dates for Quest, we finish off our summer with Quest. That's our last session we go to. We like to end with a bang. That's going to be July 27th through August 1st. That's going to be a Sunday through a Monday. That's 9 days. Very similar activities between Safari and Quest. We just get a couple extra days with Quest, with that 3 more days of schedule that we can kind of jam pack with a bunch of fun stuff. I would say, maybe first time at overnight camp, first time away from home, Safari, great intro way to leaving house and going to overnight camp. But we've also had people that go to Quest that it is their first time. So maybe these dates work better for certain family schedules. Then you can sign up for that one. But yeah, it's kind of a brief overview of Safari and Quest.
Yeah, that's a great point you bring up, because we get that question a lot. Do we need to go to Safari first if we've never gone to overnight camp? No. You know your kid better than we do, obviously. Safari being 6-day, Quest being a 9-day, but plenty of kids for their first time go to Quest. If you're going to want to put your toe in the water a little bit less than Quest, then you maybe go to Safari. And we're always here to answer those questions and talk to you about your child and maybe answer those like personal questions about, being away from home and those kind of things like that. So for sure, if you have a child between the ages of 8 and 12, they can go to either of those programs. One is not a prerequisite for the other. You bring up activities, Nicole. Why don't we dive into some of that too as well, huh? Look, I'm a big believer that the outdoors, that adventure, that nature provide for a unique opportunity for learning. We don't just do all these really cool things that we're going to talk about just to do them for the fun's sake or the adrenaline's sake. They have purpose and they have meaning. And that really touches on what we talk about when we talk about our philosophy and why we go to overnight camp. The greatest lessons that we learn at overnight camp are the ones that stick with us after we get home. So we use those opportunities, right, to create a greater sense of independence. We create those opportunities at camp to provide the opportunity for kids to develop more courage, to work on those soft skills, right? Teamwork, trust, cooperation, problem solving. These are all things that are intentionally built into our curriculum at overnight camp because we're seeking outcomes, right? Yes, I want your kid to have the most amazing time in the world and meet a bunch of friends, and yeah, that's definitely going to happen. But I also want your kid to go home a little bit more independent, a little bit more confident about his or herself, a little bit more courageous and ready to take on the world. Why? Because they just took on a 100-foot cliff rock climbing and they got all the way to the top, right? These are the kind of things that we're talking about, all right? Let's look at some more pictures here. Obviously, we are on, well, not obviously, if you don't know this, we are on the banks of the Nueces River. It is crystal clear limestone bottom river. You can see all the way to the bottom. It is absolutely gorgeous. And so we do spend time in the river quite a bit, whether that's just swimming, whether that's at the waterfront, whether that's kayaking, stand-up paddling. We're in the river. Beautiful thing about the river is we're wearing our life jackets. It's an amazing opportunity for our campers, which is mixed in quite a bit. You can see stand-up paddling and kayaking on that left side. And the blob. Parents, if you've not done the blob, you're missing out. So imagine a giant pillow filled with air. You jump off a high platform. You land on the blob. You move to the very end of the blob. You position yourself and you await your friend who's going to jump off the platform, land on the blob, and bounce you up into the air and into the river. It's absolutely crazy fun, and it's one of the things kids love to do. Nicole, have you gotten blob before?
I have been the blobber. I have not gotten blobs
Oh,
because
really?
you got to be a little coordinated to kind of shimmy your way to the end to be the
Oh,
next one to go.
nice.
And I fell off on accident.
Are we
And
saying you're
yeah,
not? Are we saying on accident? Are you sure you didn't
yeah,
try to accidentally slide off the side so you
it
didn't get
takes some
blobbed?
coordination. I did try. We'll have to do it again this summer. I
All
need
right,
to
I'm
get
gonna.
blobbed for sure.
Okay, so promise me I can blob you this summer, then, correct?
But that sounds great. I'm looking forward to it.
I'm sure you're not. All right, Mork. Look, I mean, I think one of the best things about overnight camp are the friendships that you make. Um, and like what? I don't know. 10 years ago, I attended a wedding of her name is Jade Jackson, and she was one of the original campers at overnight camp many, many years ago. She met her best friend in life um, there at camp, and that best friend was her uh, maid of honor in her wedding. I mean, that's the kind of friendships that you kind of and I don't know if it's like being away from like the real world for a period of time. When you meet somebody, you just tend to bond better. But the friendships made at overnight camp are just amazing. And when these kids come together, maybe they haven't seen each other in 12 months, right? Because they live far apart. It's like they've been together the whole time. It's really cool. It's one of my favorite things to see there. So anyway, there's some more pictures. There's our kids on, I think that's the Tyrolean Traverse, where we are clipped into the side of the cliff and we're walking sideways across the cliff. And then those two boys that are giving each other kudos. I think that's at the Gladiator course, or maybe that's Super Swing. I think that might be Super Swing, right? Anyway, there we go. If you are Safari or Quest, this is your home base. The barn. This would be looking at the barn from the cabins. Um, and this is kind of like our home base. This is Headwaters. This is where we live during the week. The barn is where we have our meals. We also do a lot of games. There's a stage in there. And our cabins, which you're not seeing in that picture, are clustered right around that barn too as well. Sand volleyball court. Man, a lot of stuff happening right there. And this is a picture from this summer, this past summer. One of the looks like Safari to me. Is that Quest or Safari? Do you think? I don't know. It's hard for me to tell. So there you go, you guys. All right. So let's review activities: kayaking and paddleboarding, outdoor rock climbing, team building, swimming, waterfront. Man, fishing has become so popular, Nicole.
Yes.
We we do these things called meetups, parents, and they're like online get-togethers from the camp kids from the summer. We just check in with each other and how's your homework going? Are you making your bed? Are you being a good kid? Then we tell stories about camp and laugh, and it's a great opportunity for our kids to stay connected during the year. And like one of the things we polled the kids on is this summer, what would you like to see us add? And like, I don't know, fishing was off the charts. Um, I know there's a couple boys that made their own fishing poles, and we got them lined this last year, and they went to
Yep.
town, and now everybody's like, "Oh my gosh, we got to fish." So
Yeah, that was
looks
awesome.
like we're gonna have the first annual Kidventure overnight camp fishing tournament at camp this summer. We do caving. Yes, we have a cave on the property where the kids actually get to go into the cave. It's really, really cool, neat experience. Nightly camp events. So every evening, man, we do these really cool parties and events and glow in the dark stuff. Of course, the one the kids always look for the most is the last night where we have the overnight dance. The kids get to dress up. It's costume party attire. So they bring a costume, they wear that. Man, we have like the most amazing time under the stars. Um, Making s'mores, doing the campfire thing. Yes, we're hiking. We're hiking everywhere, to be honest with you. Um, what am I leaving out there, Nicole? I mean, pump
Maybe hit
track
on everything.
athletics, you know,
Yep.
we do all these team building games. And once again, if you're coming on Quest, you got an additional 2.5, 3 days of additional activities that weren't done at Safari too as well. So keep that in mind. Okay. All right. Let's move on. All right. Let's turn our attention to Echo. Once again, the coolest kids in all the world. If you're 13 through 16 years old, this is our middle school program, July 12th through the 20th. Um, like Nicole mentioned. I don't know. Nicole, describe Echo for me. If there's a parent that's wanting to know what's the vibe of Echo, give us that.
Echo, I would say, well, just overall, that age group, middle school, early high school, is such a pivotal time in our kids' lives, especially in the world we live in, that I feel like a lot of kids are just so plugged into technology and social media. And I think Echo just offers an opportunity for you to go out for 9 days with kids just like you. You know, you make 49 other best friends just like you, no devices. You are, I always tell the kids, you're plugging out of your technology, but you're plugging into yourself and each other. And we really, really emphasize, you know, all the same activities and even more so with Echo, but we really like to focus on leadership. That's a big
Yeah.
piece of Echo, that we want those kids to walk away with a greater sense of self, self worth, but also really grow with those leadership skills. So we're very intentional with that. We're very intentional with our staff and the conversations and debriefing after the activities, and discussions over challenges that we face during the day and maybe just in life, and really making those connections. And we allow that throughout our schedule, if it's time with our small group, or if it's just free time with the kids to connect with one another. So there's a lot of activities that we do and opportunities that we give to these kids to really hone in on those skills that we just feel are really important.
Yeah, I'm gonna echo, excuse the pun, what you said. Um, when you said it, and I think you use these words, crossroads, right?
Mm-hmm.
At least that's what comes to mind for me. When I was in middle school, that was a crossroads for me. I mean, literally, I felt awkward. I was trying to find my way. Who am I as a person? And I think it's difficult for our kids today with 6 to 14 hours of screen time on average for a 13 through a 16-year-old to figure out who they are and have that identity when we're competing against Instagram and TikTok, constantly. Here's 9 days that your kid dispenses with their screen and starts to create real world relationships and really discover who they are. And to me, that's why Echo is so powerful. And I've seen it, hundreds of times. Kids come home and they're like bawling in the parking lot, because they're leaving something so substantive. You know, there's that relationship that created, that new best friend, somebody that they discovered has the same kind of issues that they got and the same challenges that they've got. And they would never know that, had they not gone to camp, you know, because I think our kids are so consumed with their screen. And, I like to say there's less screen time at camp and more scream time. That's what we need. We just need the chance just to be ourselves in an environment that challenges us. And the leadership piece is that, for Echo, we want to create opportunities for leadership at camp. We do that a variety of different ways, and we'll talk about that here in just a second. So let's dispense with the philosophy here, right? Let's get down to some images here. Rock climbing, of course. Sherpa course, which is what you see in the upper right hand, is what we do. That's the tank, and we'll talk about that here in a second when we go on our backpacking trip. Super swing. Imagine getting together with like three of your best friends, the three of you. You get strapped in and harnessed into this gigantic swing, and everybody else pulls you way up, and a release cable comes off, and you go flying through a canyon. It is off the charts. We have one of the longest zip lines in the Southwest. Yes, you get to fly. This is the closest thing to flying as you will ever experience. And let me mention this too. Everything we do is challenge by choice. We don't force any of our kids to do anything that they don't want to do from a challenge standpoint. We would rather them make that decision for themselves, right? Now, we're really good at motivating people. I'll tell you that much. But everything is still challenged by choice. Um, Hanging out at the river. I mean, this is probably one of the kids' favorite things to do at Echo for sure. It's just hanging. There's giant stand-up paddleboard. More pictures there. Here's a great picture of the riverfront, by the way. Um, Love it. I mean, you can see how amazing is that. And then a backpacking. So there's two kind of big events that we do during the week. I mean, there's a lot of events that we do, but one of them is a backcountry backpacking trip. So all of our kids stay in cabins. All our cabins are air conditioned, very comfortable. But one day, just our Echo kids, they get to gear up. We provide them with a backpack. We provide them with a tent. You provide a sleeping bag, and we go on a backpacking trip overnight. And so we'll head out into the backcountry. They've got to be self-sufficient. They learn how to cook for themselves over an open fire. They learn how to set up camp. We sleep under the stars. It's amazing. And if you ask those kids what their favorite thing they did in those 9 days, a lot of them will tell you that it was this backcountry backpacking trip, right? And it's for good reason. These kids get this amazing sense of freedom by going off into the backcountry. They're taught how to be self-sufficient in the backcountry. And really that translates to life, to be honest with you. So a neat thing that we do. And here's more. This is more pictures from that backpacking trip that we go on. Love it. The other thing that we do is we do a community service project. So one day out of that 9, we have an opportunity for our kids to give back. We think that one of the greatest ways to teach leadership is by giving back, right? Is to being integral in helping somebody else be successful. And we do that in a variety of different ways from year to year. One year we got together with a local elderly couple and the city, and we painted their house, and the mayor took pictures with us. We provided lunches and meals for a group of kids with special needs that came to camp. So we do this a variety of different ways, but it all serves the same purpose. It gives our kids the chance to give back. They plan it, they implement it, they debrief it, and it's a neat part of their week as well. And that is Echo. Did I miss anything on Echo?
Nope. It's all amazing camp program.
All right, so let's bring everything together now. Let's talk about what all of our camps include, okay? Because we're kind of unique in this sense. First of all, we provide that transportation to camp from Houston, Austin, and DFW. So if you're coming from Houston, Austin, DFW, you have the opportunity to get on board with us. We like to do it that way, and 99% of the kids do it this way. Why? Because it gives us a chance to break the ice, get everybody together. We play games on the bus. We have fun. That way, when we get to camp and our foot comes out of the bus and hits the ground, we already know each other. We're hitting the ground running, literally and figuratively. All lodging, obviously, meals and activities are included. All images and video taken at camp, we don't nickel and dime you. Any of that stuff we take, you have access to download any of that stuff. And we take a lot of pictures every day and video every day. And we have an app called the Kidventure app, and you can keep up with us. You can see the pictures, and maybe we might send a notification to you saying, hey, we're at the riverfront, having a great time. Hope you're having a great time. It's kind of our way to keep up with parents. And then we have a meet and greet prior to camp. We used to do this in person, but gosh, so many of our kids come from different places. They can't make the meet and greet, so we do an online meet and greet. It is for parents and kids. We go over more specifically the itinerary, first day of camp, dropping off, picking up, what to bring, what to pack. We go over your packing list. All that stuff that's been sent to you in May, we'll go over that in the meet and greet in June, okay? And then we do a pizza. We provide the kids a pizza meal on the way back home as well, too. Let's see. Okay. Let's talk about cabins. Cabins are bunk bed style, up and down. Our kids need to bring their own bedding. But all of our, like for Quest and Safari, restroom facilities are embedded in their cabins. Counselors and kids are all in the same cabins. We have a boys' cabin, we have a girls' cabin. And for Echo, their cabins are air conditioned as well, bunk bed style as well, but their shower and bath facilities are outside of it in a separate building. Um, Really amazing cabins, really great. Kids love to just hang out on the porches when we have free time and talk and do that kind of thing or play cards. It's pretty neat. Let's see. Meals. All of our meals are made from scratch. They are all family style, and really they're very healthy and tasty too as well. We do accommodate for our allergens, so you'll just need to get with us prior to departure, and you need to indicate that in your registration form. So on the registration form, there's a place there to put down any special needs or allergies or anything like that so that we can run a report, make note of that, call you up, have a game plan, and then we're good to go. All right. Kids can bring their own snacks, and they do. We just ask that you keep those in sealable containers so we can feed, so they can feed themselves and not, the other critters that we live with in the woods, like bears. And no, there's no bears. I have not seen a bear. We
No.
have a lot of deer. We have raccoon. We have porcupine.
Yeah.
We have skunk. We have other things. A skunk getting uh, in your candy would not be good. So resealable containers. We ask parents to use those. All right, I think that's all for that. Oh yeah, I'll give you a picture. When I mean family style, this is kind of what our meals look like, you guys. Around a table, and anyway, kids serve themselves, kids clean up after themselves, all that good stuff. All right, all right. I want to switch to tribes. Okay, so when we take, so for each of our programs, we take 50 kids. All right, and that's one of the things that makes Kidventure unique. 25 girls, 25 boys. Why? Well, because since 1994, when we started Kidventure, overnight camps, we felt like that number 50 was a good number because I want our kids, and I think you mentioned this, Nicole, coming home with 49 new friends. I don't want our kids to be one of a number. I want a lot of personalized attention. Safety is paramount in everything that we do, and I want the relationship building to be optimized. And I feel like at 50, 25 girls, 25 boys, we have the best opportunity for all three of those tenets. But we break our kids into tribes, all right? And let me pull that up first, okay? And then I'll come back to a sample itinerary. So for Safari and Quest, your child, depending on their age, is going to be either a turtle, a buffalo, a bear, or an eagle. Turtle being the youngest of the campers, eagle being the oldest of the campers. There is a lot of pride in being a buffalo, a bear, an eagle, or a turtle. They have like secret handshakes. They do these crazy songs. They paint their face sometimes. They carry around a flag on a pole that denotes their tribe. The turtles get together and compete against the buffaloes, and the bears get together and compete against the eagles. And at the end of the week, we have a winning tribe. So they have this little competition throughout the week, which is so much fun. They earn these power rings that go on their flag and all sorts of cool stuff. But that's your groups, right? That's not cabins. That's your counselor groups, okay? So the turtles might be rock climbing and the buffaloes might be at archery. Then they'll switch in the morning. The bears might be on a hike and the eagles might be caving. Then they'll switch. We all come together for events in the evening. We all come together for lunch or dinner or breakfast. But when we're scaling activities and we're making activities age appropriate, we do so in our camp tribes. All right. Those are the camp tribes for there. Echo has two tribes, the Denoma and the Myakota. And those are the two tribes for Echo. We break out those kids into two tribes, and they operate in smaller tribes. So that way our 16-year-olds and our 15-year-olds are in a different tribe than our 13-year-olds. Okay? Hope that offers some insight onto that. And let's talk about a sample itinerary. So this is very basic. I'm going to give you like the 30,000-foot sample itinerary. 7:30 is about a typical time that we're getting up out of bed, right? Because we're having breakfast by 8 o'clock. And then we think of it like this. Think of it as morning activities or adventures, afternoon activity adventures, evening big event, and then meals in between. That's kind of the structure of each day, right? I mean, the backpacking trip is a little bit different, but that's kind of an outlier. So you'll have a couple tribes going to do something, another couple tribes going to do something else. They might flip flop. We're always going to go pretty much to waterfront every day at some point. Why? Because it's 110 degrees, right? You know what I mean? And there's nothing like the waterfront to cool off. We also build in free choice in there. We don't want to structure every minute of their day because I want our kids to be able to say, gosh, I'd love to play, volleyball with my buddies, or I'd love to, you know, um, just do a board game or something like that, or just hang out. So we're going to give them opportunity to do those kind of things, okay? Lunch is going to be around noon, dinner's going to be around 6, and then every evening, like I said, is going to be a special event. And then bedtime, lights out. Nicole, when was that? You remember? 9:30.
I believe around 9:30, 9 o'clock, we start getting cleaned up from the day of fun, and then about 9:30, we're getting close to lights out.
Yeah, you bring up a good point. Cleaning up, we do. We give our kids a lot of choices at camp. Whether or not they want to shower is not one of them. So everybody has to practice good hygiene. Even our boys have to shower, right? Uh, it's like pulling teeth, right? You can get them to
Yep.
climb a rock climbing wall 150 feet up in the air. To have them step in a shower for 5 minutes is like the worst thing in the world, right?
Right.
Uh, but yeah, we have like a little shower schedule. Everybody showers. Everybody cleans up after themselves, brushes their teeth, because we're all living with each other for 6 or 9 days, something like that. So for
Yeah.
sure. Um, all right. So that's kind of a sample itinerary, right? Let's go to registration. The good news is there's some space left. The not so good news is we have a wait list developing already. So, talk to us about that because I think you looked at the
So,
numbers today, right? And then,
yes, for one of our sessions, we do already have a wait list of a couple families. So, how that works, when a session fills up, a wait list will begin at any time. If you want to know if there's any progress on your spot on the wait list, you can contact the overnight office that runs out of the Austin office, and um, find out where you are on the spot list. If a spot does fill up, we've seen movement in the past, families' schedules change, and they're unable to make it, we will contact you and let you know through that primary parent email that registered the camper um, through our website. And so once you get that email, though, you have 48 hours, I believe, to then go in and claim that spot. So just make sure that if you get that email, you act on it fast, because then if it goes past that 48 hours, then it'll go on to the next family in the wait list. So that's kind of a brief overview of how that works.
for sure, does not cost anything to be on a wait list. I urge parents, if it's full, get on the wait list. We get parents whose schedules, their vacation plans change in the summer, and we have spots that open up. It happens every year, so don't let that deter you. If you're going to be 25th on the wait list, I'm probably going to shoot straight with you and tell you there's probably no chance. But right now, it's looking good. So my point is, there are very few spots left right now for overnight camp. So make sure that if you're really interested in going, grab a spot soon. Okay. All right. Anything else about registration? I just wanted to mention too. Once you register, we really start communicating with you a little bit more. Not so much right now, but when we get into April and May, we're going to be communicating with you. We're going to send you out your overnight packet, which has got your packing list, your itinerary, important numbers, all those things like that. We're going to feed you all the information that you need in order to successfully go to camp, because preparation is a big part of being successful at camp, right? And then we're going to invite you formally to our meet and greet in June, and you'll have the option to come to that. And so you'll have a lot of information, okay, that will work with you, and downloading that app will be helpful too as well. All right. All right. Well, I think I've covered pretty much everything, Nicole. The last thing I want to talk about before we get on to the Q&A portion, and please, if you have any questions, drop those in, is our team, right? And I'll say this, and then I'll turn it over to you, because I know you're very passionate about the staff and what it means to the kids. But you can have the coolest overnight camp facilities in the world, right? You can have the most amazing stand-up paddle boards and zip lines and all that kind of stuff. That is really not, at the end of the day, what kids remember most about camp. What they remember most about camp are the relationships that are fostered and forged at camp, and that catalyst is our staff. Number one priority for Kidventure staff is to procure the safety of your child for the 6 or 9 days that they're with us. That is their number one objective. Next is to create relationships and opportunities for our kids to thrive and be happy and be successful. That's number two. And man, I just can't stress enough how our staff is so plugged into that goal. And then I'll turn it over to you, Nicole. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, we handpick. It's a very coveted job being an overnight staff member, I would say. And we are very intentional with that because they know the how strong the purposes of overnight camp and the difference that they make and the priority of safety and all those things that you touched on. So they are leaders. They are have experienced many of them. We have returning counselors from previous summers. We have teachers. We have people in college becoming teachers. We have people who really want to make a difference in your kids' lives, from day one through long after camp ends, as we see with these meetups that we have. I mean, that connection is instant and it's there and it's forever. These days, even though it's 6, 9 days, I know how can that be? Such a short time. It really does. These connections last forever. So we're very intentional with the staff we bring. Everyone is first aid, CPR certified, so we make sure of that. So yeah, just they are the best of the best, and it's
Yeah,
a privilege to work with them all, and they are super excited for the summer.
for sure. Thank you for that insight. Okay, and with that, I'm going to go to Q&A. We do have a few questions, so I'm going to throw these up here. Um, let's see. The first is, are counselors inside of the cabins? The answer to that question is yes, they are inside. So our ratios are 1 to 10. Every cabin is going to have at least one counselor in there with those 10 kids. Um, so yes, they're in there at all times. We're monitoring our kids. Um, we're not letting our kids go off by themselves. We have pretty strict parameters with regards to where kids can go, what they can do, where they can visit, those kind of things like that. Being a summer camp counselor and an overnight camp is a 24-hour a day job. You know, um, it's a job that they love doing, but it's still a 24-hour job. Um, all right, so great question, Sandra. Thanks very much. I hope I answered that appropriately for you. If I'm on the wait list and I get offered a spot, how long do I have to respond to secure my spot? I think you mentioned that earlier, Nicole, right? 48 hours, I think, is what we have it set to. It's automatically set to that. If you don't respond with 48 hours, it's going to the next person on the list. So please don't try to confirm that at 49 hours. There you go. It'll send you an email. Here we go. Can campers call home while they're away at camp? They can, if there's an emergency. We need to get a hold of you. But in general, no. I mean, part of going away to overnight camp is separating from mom and dad, and becoming a little bit more independent. Plus, you can imagine how long it would take to have 50 kids call home. I will tell you this from experience, and I have 4 kids of my own who've gone through Kidventure and grown up and gone to college and that kind of thing. It's way harder on the parent than it is the kid. The kid's fine. You know, do we get kids that get homesick? Absolutely. That's part of going to overnight camp, right? That's part of why you're sending them there, so they can get over that little hump and they can do fine. Usually it hits day 2 on the evening because day 1 they're so hyped and they're jacked and they got adrenaline flowing. Then they lay in their bed on Tuesday night and they go, maybe I miss my mom. But that's okay too as well. Look, in 31 years of running overnight camp, I've never had one kid go home from homesickness. Okay. Yes, if a kid gets sick, if we have to go to the nurse, any of that kind of stuff, we're going to reach out to you and we're going to involve you in that. That's not a problem. Okay. So great question, Noel. Um, okay. We have Paulina. I already made the first payment. Are Are the next are going to charge the same card, or should I do something? Yes, Pauline, the next payments are going to charge the same card unless you call or anyone calls to change that or ask us to put it on a different card. So keep that in mind for sure. Um, and all you got to do is just call the office. Call that 512-797-3, I'm sorry, 512-263-8992. That's the office number, and we'll take care of you on that one. Oh, here's another one. How will I know how camp is going? It's a great question. The best way is to download the app from the App Store or from Google Play. It'll be the Kidventure Camp app. It'll automatically have you in there. You just simply use the same login information that you do to register for camp into that account. We can only do one set of credentials, meaning you can't like farm that out to grandma and grandpa and everybody else, and they have their own. The only way to access that app, and this is for security measures, is through that one account that you have through registering. But in that app, we're going to send you pictures. We're going to send you notifications. And then in addition to that, we send home a nightly email. So the director of the camp, Rebecca, will sum up the day. She'll put the highlights in an email. She'll talk about what we did, what was unique about that day, and send that to you each night, okay? She typically doesn't get to that until, I don't know, after all the kids go to bed and about maybe 10:30, 11 o'clock. So don't wait up for that. It's perfect for your coffee in the morning, okay? And that's why I tell parents, grab a coffee, open up the email from the night before, and get to know what we did at camp that previous day. That's probably your best way. Great question, by the way. Absolutely. Thank you, Paulina. Hope I answered that question correctly. All right. Last call for questions. If you have any questions, please feel free. I'm going to throw a couple things out there that maybe that you haven't thought of that you'll probably think of. Do we have a nurse at camp? Yes, we have a nurse full time at camp. And have we gone to see the nurse? Absolutely. Yeah. The nurse is there because if I have kids that get sick or get injured, that is the first place we go. If we go to the nurse for any reason, we're going to reach out to you and let you know and keep you up to date on that, okay? Everybody's first aid CPR certified with regards to our staff. I think that Nicole mentioned that, and that obviously helps, but having that nurse is super. It's a great thing for us, by the way, at camp. All right. Did I miss anything else? Let's get back
I think
to
a big
the
thing that I get questions on is medication.
Yeah.
We have a medical dosage form. I believe that's going to be in your overnight packet that you get in May. We're also going to have a couple extra copies when you do check in on that first day of camp, but just makes it a little bit easier if you have that filled out beforehand. I say in the past, if you feel like your kid might need some Tylenol just in case, and Benadryl, we do have the basics, but it would be helpful just, the more the merrier to send that way. You'll check it in with the director. We log all the medications according to your instruction, whether that's as needed if things come up or with every meal. We have a log where we do that and record all that. So that's a question that I get. Make sure that it's in its original container. If we come to camp with like a Ziploc bag with them in it, unfortunately, we wouldn't be able to administer the medication. So just make sure it's in that original container with the medical dosage form, and you'll be good to go.
The only other question I can think of that I should get asked a lot, Nicole, is do you have this for adults? And the answer to that question is no. We do not have Kidventure Camp, overnight camp for adults. But if we did, it would be a lot of fun. I'm pretty confident of that.
Maybe a family camp can be in the works for 2025, 2026. Campers can come with their parents and other siblings. That'd be fun.
That would be a lot of fun. I would totally be down with that, by the way. All right. Hey, Nicole, I'm going to look at you this way. Thank you so much for being with us today. No, you got to look the other way.
Thank you for having me. Oh, it's other way. It's always backwards. Sorry.
Yeah,
thank you, Mike. It's always a pleasure.
You were awesome today. You were awesome. Thank you. I really appreciate it. And we're so excited about the summer. And once again, I'm not doing this to push you to register, but we have very few spaces left. If that is full, don't fret, get on the wait list, and we'll communicate with you, okay? Thank you so much for being with us today. Once again, this is recorded. We'll keep it on our website. It'll be on our Facebook page. And if you have any questions, no one loves to talk about camp more than Kidventure. Just reach out to us. Overnight at kidventure.com is our email address, and we can be reached by a warm body and not a bot at 512-263-8992. Thank you so much for being here. Give that baby a kiss for us, Nicole, and
Bye,
and we'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.
guys. Thank you.